Hello, everyone. Welcome to Big Talk, live from the nation's capital. My name is Adika Michael. Tonight, we'll go big by x-raying the recent move by the presidency to reshuffle the cabinet. Just today, earlier today, some of the newly appointed ministers, upon their confirmation at the Senate, have been sworn into office earlier today at Aso Rock. We saw the president taking the rituals in respect to the oath taking to the new ministers which he administered. And of course, there are a whole lot of consideration as to what Nigerians are expecting. It looks that many Nigerians were expecting a comprehensive overhaul of the machinery of the government and hope that the new cabinet member will now be composed of quality and competent personnel that will have been sourced from all the nooks and crannies of the state in order to salvage the current economic situation in the country. Our President Tinubu, who came into office with so much promise and great expectation, considering the fact that he has garnered a lot of reputation with regards to numerous strides that has taken place under his watch while he was the governor in Lagos State. But all this sense of optimism seems to be taking flight, which rather the government in almost 18 months in office has not been able to attract the right caliber of personnel to man the critical sectors of government to deliver the goods in terms of good governance. Rather, what has continued to happen, what Nigerians have continued to see is undue nepotism and gross incompetence by the cabinet. But in the new cabinet reshuffle moved by the presidency, there are those that are having a great of concern if this will help the current economic situation in our country. That's the conversation we'll be having tonight. And of course, we'll x-ray some of the economic reforms as well and look at what has been the result so far. Would these new cabinet members help to drive the sectors? Would they contribute to cushioning the effect of the hardship in the country? Tonight, Dynasty Momo, Convener Guardians of Democracy and Development Initiative, is our guest tonight. Tonight, Dynasty will be x-raying all of those concerns. Of course, he's also a member of the All Progressive Congress. Thanks so much, Prince Dynasty, for joining us tonight on our conversation. Let's begin with very comprehensive issues. The cabinet reshuffle. Earlier today, presidency, confirmed new members of the cabinet. Is it a wake-up call to getting the mandate right?
Good evening, viewers. I think on this note, what the president have done last week and today, there is nothing new, and this is not the way to go. If the president must make cabinet reshuffle, there are key institutions that are not functioning, that are led us to where we are today. The economic sector is not functioning. You have the Minister of Finance, the coordinating economic minister. What is the challenges of Nigeria as a nation? What is the problem of Nigeria as a nation? Is the economy. You want to do a cabinet reshuffle. We expect to see reshufflement from the economic aspect of the country. All those ministers he brought in, yeah, there is need for people to be compensated. This is not the right time for Mr. President to be still compensating people. Well, if there's anything we need as Nigerians, we want to see competency in those he has saddled with responsibilities. To the best of our knowledge, the Minister of Finance has no business in today Nigeria. If he can advise or if he can manage the Nigerian economy to be worse as this as today, before he coming as a minister or before Mr. President coming as a president of Nigeria, this hardship was already in Nigeria. It was not as tough as this. What gives birth to the hardship is the misplacement of priority. Those somersaulted policies here and there emanating from the Nigerian economy is what led us to where we are today. Those new ministers he just brought in, they don't really have a super portfolio that can catapult Nigeria out of where we are. And yeah, there are credible Nigerians who have distinguished themselves in various sectors that we expected Nigerians, we expected Mr. President to have approached, to have used them in this cabinet reshuffle. But what we are saying today is still the old ways of where, old ways of where Mr. President started from. Those ministers he brought in today, I can bet anybody they don't have any meaningful thing to contribute.
Well, when you look at the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, which has been at the due to the controversy surrounding that ministry, appointing someone into that office will not begin to ignite hope of Nigerians, because one of the problems Nigerians are saying is that it looks that when the whole body definitely be sick, it looks that nothing else can work. But in attention of the president, he's trying to find solutions to all of these economic hardship. Don't you feel that appointing like Ojuku's wife into the cabinet based on antecedent in the foreign affairs will also help place Nigerians in the map or the global scene? What are your direction on that?
Ojuku's wife as a minister in foreign affairs, and the problem we have with the foreign countries, do you know, since Mr. President assumed, he has directed that all the ambassadors return home. We don't have ambassadors of Nigeria to other nations in anywhere. And she, as a minister of, we even have a minister of foreign affairs. What has he done? He has landed us in this deep mess we find ourselves today. I can bet you authoritatively he's not going to make any impact. Have you ever seen a nation in any part of the world, no matter the economic status of that nation, a nation stay for 6 good months, 12 calendar months without ambassadors? Have you seen such? Yet Mr. President still allow the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Tuga, to remain in the office. Do what?
Maybe
it was his advice Mr. President to withdraw those ambassadors. And now Mr. President withdraw those ambassadors.
Don't you think he wants to appoint his own representative? Because those ambassadors, as far as we understand, were appointed during the last
administration. His own representatives, are they rocket science? What does it take for Mr. President to appoint ambassadors? For the past 8-9 months, 1 year, Nigeria don't have ambassadors. That's why you see in most places where Mr. President goes, you now discover that we are even close to the country try to embarrass Nigeria. For example, Mr. President attend an inauguration in South Africa. He was given a backbench. For God's sake, Nigeria is the giant of Africa.
Are we still giant?
Yes, of course.
Economic solutions, they have
our population.
The poverty.
Our population is our
we continue to ride on the population of our country?
That is the only thing we can proud of today.
Nigerians are saying that we have strength of we do not have the giant of Africa.
We are not the economic giant of Africa.
So what makes us
in terms of population, we are the giant of Africa, because any market you bring to Nigeria today will fly because of what we possess. And outside that, you even discover some times ago, ordinary qualifying series for Africa Cup of Nations, Nigerians travel to Libya. If ordinarily we were to have ambassador in Libya, he would have been the one networking, communicating with our soccer team to, okay, this is where you are landing, this is the arrangement we have made for you. At the end of it all, you now discover that lack of ambassador has caused us a lot of this. And Mr. President is not even
due to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It looks that the minister is showing a whole lot of incompetencies.
He has demonstrated gross incompetency.
Now that we have Mrs. Ojuku do you feel that she will influence some decision making? Because one of it is that the president is running inclusive government. He has appointed Wike of PDP into his cabinet. Now he has appointed an ABGA party senior stakeholder into this government. Do you see in that direction? Do you feel that a capacity is enough?
That is not capacity. If you talk of Wike, Wike is a capacity. Because of Wike was a former governor Rivers, Wike has been a performer. As a River governor, he was close to performer. You can see what Wike did as a governor of Rivers. Now Wike is in FCT like every other ministers. He was appointed the same day with other ministers. And I can tell you today that Wike's performer start taller than 70% of the ministers that they were appointed the same date.
Is it lack of access to funds? Is it lack of access to the presidency? Because it looks that is more closer to the president than some other minister. That those that feel there's a cabal in government. I remember that Dume raised a concern that it looks that the presidency is not open. Government is not open to all. So there is a need for the president to allow people to always come in. It looks that some ministers are feeling that president is close to this minister than the other. Is that the case?
If that would be the case, we would have been celebrating Oyetola as the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, who is a close ally of the president. If that would be the case, we would have been celebrating the Minister of Finance, Chief Wale Edu. And those are people who have unlimited access to Mr. President.
But they are not performing.
I checked their ministries today. They are not performing. What can you give to them? A performer is a performer. That is where we are faulting this the cabinet reshufflement of today. We expected Mr. President to look beyond the bands of our great party APC. If there are people who can assist in fixing Nigeria economy, if they are a PDP, bring them in.
So you are saying inclusivity of party is not really the concern now.
It's not really the concern. It's survivor of our dear nation, Nigeria. Nigeria is dying. It's collapsing.
Some people feel,
economically.
Some people feel nothing will change. Do you share in that concern?
If it continues like this, nothing is going to change.
Because government has shown the other flip side that our GDP is giving a good signal that we are fighting inflation. We are trying to address all of this. That the reason why we have to float our naira and to remove subsidy was for the good of the country. That more and over again, there is a need to exercise patience. How do we begin to substitute this when it looks that many Nigerians now seems to resign their faith to self-help people and now having, to help themselves survive in the economy, which is quite very dangerous.
The whole idea is that if you say government said that the GDP is appreciated, what were you expecting the government to say? The issue is that we are not economists, and we all are economists in this country. And we see the way things are going. The hardship is on the high side. And nothing seems to work in the positive directions. And all what we are saying is that these policies, government said that they have increased the GDP. 70% of Nigerians are even asking Mr. President reverse those
policies.
All those policies.
Is it good? Because those are, saying it's never a good thing for us to go back to the days of subsidy. It's never a good idea.
Was subsidy the problem? Is Nigeria the only nation in the world who subsidize energy for her citizens? The answer is no. The IMF, who advised Nigeria government to...
They say they are not the one.
Okay.
They have come out to refute that they are not the one that advised government of the day. So
the IMF,
that it was the policy of the president and your party to stand with the subsidy.
The IMF who encouraged Nigeria government to toe that route. The European Union, I think around April or May, gave France almost 900 million euro to subsidize energy. The same America has a mode they subsidize energy and food. And if we must move forward, subsidizing energy is not a crime, it's the way to go. But the way we were going about it was the problem. We expected Mr. President to put checks and balances on that route. And if there is anything for us to do, you want to save money for us, we are dying. If you subsidize us, we live a good and a healthy life. And you are depriving us of that. And you want us to die. If we die, who will you govern?
So, I mean, you are sharing of the concern that for now, there's a need for people to survive ahead of the future that the president says is taking Nigerians to.
Yes.
The better days of us getting things working in this country. But let me take your direction towards where it looks that many Nigerians had a lot of expectation, including you, for this government to work. That those that feels the president had a whole lot of experience. We cannot just start now to say, okay, because he's just coming into office as a president for 18 months. It looks like the former governor of the state who had transformed Lagos to the GDP it is today need not to really have to rely on the capacity of his ministers and his cabinet members to interpret the agenda he has for Nigerians. How do you see all of this when you look at the presidency himself, his capacity to deliver?
I think on this question, media should share a large chunk of the blames, because of media normally give credit to those they were not supposed to give credit to. If Mr. President developed Lagos, if Mr. President transformed Lagos economy, Lagos is a state in Nigeria, and we expect him that, okay, the way and manner he transformed Lagos economy, let us see the moves that he is transforming Nigeria economy. Because of where Mr. President meets Nigeria economy, we were in a very pitiable situation. Today we are in a terrible situation. This is not the Nigeria of anybody's dream.
Does it look like he's trying to solve the problem, but in the process of trying to solve the problem, he's taking Nigerians
if he wants to solve the problem, you don't need to think he wants to solve the problem. You will see that he wants to solve the problem. The challenges we are seeing today, the president we are seeing today is not the president who wants to solve Nigeria problem. He's even creating more challenges for us. He's creating more challenges for us. And if Nigeria must move forward, I keep saying this traveling all over the world, you want to bring investors, there is insecurity here, debt with the security situation, there is a hardship here. All the solutions lies here in Nigeria. They are not in any part of the world. They are here in Nigeria. And if we must get it right, as it stands today, before today, Mr. President promised us a commodity board, that this board will be the ones to regulate prices in the market and co. At the end of it all, down the line, 1 month, 8 months, 9 months, 12 months, 13 months, we are not seeing boards, and we are taking off, okay, we want government to approach the market forces for us to see if those prices can come down. Then the next thing, you are increasing PMS, which is the lifeblood of the economy. And as it stands, before now, he used to dish out palliative to the governors, to the National Assembly, and we keep saying that is not the way to go. The Ministry of Agriculture alone, if you can put that fund there, if it is only groundnut they will farm or rice, it can feed the entire nation. We will have them in abundance. We will have them with a reasonable pricing. But the way he's going about it is just out there creating more challenges for the economy and for Nigerians.
Let's get back to the discuss about the ministers, because those that feels nepotism is still a concern in this government. That it looks at one, is the region of the president that the driving force of this government, and there is a need for him to see how he can go behind these circles or these borders of regional nepotism to see how he can get, competent hands. Because when you look at the Minister of Economy, Wale Edun, and all of those people who are sharing from the southwestern part of this country, they are concerned about that. Do you feel sharing that and also comparing to what President Buhari, former President Buhari did, that those are feels, the president has to work with people is comfortable working with?
The idea of the president have to work with people comfortable working with is not the way to go, because those is comfortable to work with, the majority of them are ideologically switched off. They cannot even come up with a reasonable policies that can move Nigeria forward from where we are today to the next level. And where the challenges are coming from, if the president want to embark on nepotism, let him bring the best competent hands from the southwest. We don't have problem with that. The only problem we are having, those he has saddled with responsibility, they are not living up to expectations. They are not living up to expectations.
So looks at all of these numbers over
all of those numbers,
40 ministers we have, and not sharing towards the right direction.
It's only few of them you can.
The economic team of the president. Talk about that.
The economic team of the president, from the minister to the CBA governor, today they present themselves as challenges, as problems to Nigeria.
Was floating the naira a necessity like fuel subsidy removal?
That is where the economic woes begins. That is where the economic woes begins. Because of floating the naira was the greatest mistake Mr. President and the Minister of Economy and the CBA governor that have arrived at. It was a colossal mistake.
Don't you feel they were trying to destroy the cabal, because this government is so particular about saying it sort of was allowing few individuals to continue to carve away with our currency, with our resources? It's better or we destroy all of this cabal so that Nigerians can stand tall, in the nearest future. That's what they share.
When they present themselves to be the cabals of today, what cabal were they talking of? What cabal are they talking about? The president has no reason. He has no reason to think of a cabal. He has no reason to. Nigeria president is the most powerful president in the world. If he thinks, so shall it be. In most cases, the president overrides a constitutional provision. As it stands today, floating of naira was not necessary. You met this at 450 naira official rate. The black market was 700, 750, as the case may be. When I say, okay, the former president associates were busy in round tripping of the dollar. You come in, you said you want to float it. You started from 700, 750. Today we are in 1,600 plus. Who knows? By December, we might land 2,000 naira to a dollar.
If Nigerians continue to survive in all of these reforms, because
which reform are you talking about?
The reforms of floating the naira
are those
to quash out the cabals. Because if at the end of the day the cabals who were benefiting from all of these transactions do not find their market in Nigeria, they might exit from the country. Don't you share in that?
There is no cabal benefiting from,
because just like Dangote, the president of Dangote Refinery said the cabal in the oil sector is even bigger than the cabal that we have even in the drugs. Even in other sectors you may compare. So it looks that both at the oil sector and even at the finance sectors, it looks that there's a growing set of people that want to frustrate the intentions of government, and that's the reason why government probably are standing tall.
No. The president is getting it wrong. I think it's our time we should stop taking excuses for Mr. President. Enough is enough. We have seen it all. We have seen it all. As it stands today, if the president want to move forward, he should rejig his economic team. The economic team are creating more arms. If he wants to give it to the Yoruba nations, we don't have problem with that. Get the best hands, competent hands, who can deliver. Not those people you put in a place. What they are thinking is some assorted policies here and there, and they are not giving you positive.
Is it that they don't know? Is it that they don't know the role of their job? Or just as I said before, or does it look that they are handicapped in terms of performance?
They are handicapped. As I earlier said, they are ideologically switched off. They are not at times in line with what the economy takes to grow today. They are outdated people. They are not supposed to be.
Is it the failure of the economic team that is putting pressure on them? Because are those that feels, what do you expect from the Ministry of Tourism? And what do you expect from the Ministry of Sport to really do well in the life of Nigerians?
The Ministry of Sport, we expected the Ministry of Sport, the minister, to bring the best brains to see how best we can even select our ordinary team. Ordinary team. For maybe for Nigeria,
but that will not put food on the table.
That will not. No, that is part of entertainment for we Nigerians. If we get a reasonable, a competent team, is going to be our pride. And the ministry is to come up and look inward. How did America survive in basketball? What do they do? What did the other country do in other sporty activities? You bring those things, you annex them, then you take the best solution out of it and you present it. The country will keep moving because of what we generate from the other sectors is going to be what we will be using in funding that Ministry of Sport. Now, tourism. Lola John was there for how many months, and there was no single conference or a single meeting between her and the staffs to really know what it takes for them to move forward, because of those are staff, and all what she needed was to have consult people outside the shores of Nigerians, like Dubai. How did you get your tourism sector attracted to the world? What did you do? Even people in that same ministry, you can ask the people to go and study, give you a comprehensive way forward, how to move that ministry forward. They were there sitting there busy drinking things, and at the end of it all, we were not getting the positive result because of they see their employer is sitting and they are not doing what they are supposed to be doing. The system is not moving forward. That is just the reality.
They have continued to blame and criticize, the need to sack the Minister of Women Affairs. Those that feel that the woman was proactive enough, was making some level of representation that, the shot of firing shouldn't have been targeted towards the minister.
The duty of Minister of Women Affairs is to galvanize women and to present what those women really want, what the women represent in Nigeria, what the government can do for the female, how will I put it, the gender. At the end of it all, she was totally out of that route. She was busy. She wants to do the work of civil society, NGOs, forgetting that the aims and objective of Women Affairs Ministry is to galvanize and empowerment of the women, and she was far from that. There was need for her to be fired.
Because those of you, what she was doing was basically to see how she can turn this, the whole ministry around. Because when you look at the corruption, that's indicting that sometimes government release funds to, contractors in order for them to implement all of this idea that you said that the ministry is after. But what we see are just shenanigans in FCT here, and not really the life-touching projects that affect women even in the grassroots. So what she was really backing on was the fact that she was confronting all of this set of people. Wasn't that good enough?
That was not it at all, because of, as I earlier said, the whole idea of the ministry is all about women empowerment.
So she was dividing the women?
She was dividing the women. She was not even carrying the women along, and she was not even having programs for the women. She was not having programs for the women. People like that are not supposed to even be in the cabinet. It's even better, Mr. President, show her the exit way. Ordinarily, when this former Plateau deputy governor, what's her name, Politale, while she was in that ministry, you can see Politale in Cross River, you will see her in Kaduna, you will see her in every, he's galvanizing with the women and telling the women, okay, there is need for you to apply for Empower. This is the government's pet project at hand that can put food on your table today. Okay, the long-term project is, this is what we do, this is how we can, this is how best. At time with time number, you see her in Nasarawa State in a town hall meeting having discussions with women. But this one was just out there. He's busy doing the work of civil society. Somebody organized a program and she came and stopped that same program, telling the person that you use the name of Ministry of Women Affairs without approval, without this, everybody leaves. That was a national embarrassment.
So you justified, our relief from the cabinet.
That is just it.
How about Better Edu? It looks like presidency is silence on the matter. Yeah.
No, we expect the presidency, they should come up with the
they just made a replacement.
They need to make a replacement. The report should be made public. If actually she embezzled those funds, then the law should take its course.
Does it look like this government can fight corruption?
If the government can fight corruption, is a different ball game. This is somebody who has been appointed and whose the same government set up a committee to investigate. The report of the committee is what we are asking. If the government, if that committee indict her, if the government refuse to punish her, the civil society can take her before a law court.
So it looks that he's no longer in the coverage of the president, because the silence of the presidency was indicting that. But let's get to very silent issues some Nigerians are bringing. There are those that feel that they should begin to bring in people with international exposure, that have linked up, Okonjo, the likes of Okonjo, and people who have global connections, to secure some level of financial and economic, solutions to all of our problems, seeing how we can begin to concede with this hardship. The reason I'm asking that is that there are those that feel the presidency should do away with partisanship. It should rather focus more on seeing how we can get individuals who have the capacity for them to begin to, track some of these development across the board. But in all of this concern, how do we begin to see such opportunities for the country with having relevant bodies, so for them to begin to drive some of these sectors? All right, everyone, we'll go on a break, and once we return from that very short break, we'll be looking at that issues and seeing how the demands of some Nigerians who are actually making some suggestions, but there is a need for some level of the president to do with partisanship, rather getting more into those who have global connection to his cabinet, to see how they can begin to drive out the current situation in our economy. Do stay with us. I'll be right back. Many thanks for still stay with us. We're trying to look at the whole of the promise and great expectation, considering the fact that the generality of Nigerians are looking for how we can, move from where we are in our economy of the country. And the presidency speaking, but it looks that Nigerians are not, do not come to clear terms with that facts that have been read out by the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, with the facts given by the Minister of Finance, with the facts given by the whole economic team of the president. What Nigerians are really having a concern is that now that we now have new cabinet members, would that solve the problems? Would that begin to change things around? So let's look at the international connections that have been raised. Do we need that for our country?
We don't need that. We have all it takes to raise those that can salvage Nigeria situation, Nigeria economy. They are all in Nigeria. Yeah, if you say, the likes of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, she did well and she was brought from outside, and this today government, the same president came from outside, and those people speaking Queen's English is not going to solve the economic challenges of Nigeria. The only way to go, the people residing in Nigeria, they have seen the problems we are facing in Nigeria. They are the same people who can get those challenges fixed. And where we are getting it wrong is Mr. President has recruited incompetent hands to help him in managing the economy. We keep discussing this. The new ministers reshufflement, the new ministers, they just give ministerial oaths today. They have nothing to contribute to the economic woes. This is not the way to go. If we must move forward, the president should look towards the Ministry of Finance, the Nigeria Energy. Look at the Minister of Petroleum. Is he living up to expectation? The answer is no. Look at the Minister of Power. In a situation whereby in a country, you group some people, you tag them batch A in power supply. You tag some people batch B. And what this person pays for a unit is different from what this other person pay for a unit. For God's sake, what kind of policies is that? And now there are serious challenges in that sector. We expect the Mr. President to excuse the Minister of Power. Time with time, but TCN has said this is what GENCO has generated. And GENCO keep complaining that TCN cannot transmit total of what they are generating. And the disco, everybody is in a round, and everybody is, Mr. A is blaming Mr. B, Mr. B is, and this minister has been there for the past a year now.
Because those are also applauding the minister that we will now have more electricity, more supply of electricity.
Is it where we are supposed to be?
It's expensive for some people.
Is it where we are supposed to be?
The minister has said all of your lights when you are living home. Management like that, we have
that is madness.
Poor management.
That is madness. Those are people without ideas. How will Nigerians don't need his advice? You are not the ones to tell us to off our ACs, to off our fridges. How?
Or if we need more lights, there is also a need for us to manage a little. But that's not the conversation for today. Let's get to some of the policies of government. It looks at many companies are exiting this country. I have with me over 15 known brands recently have left the country. The Universal Rubber Company Limited, the Mother's Pride Ventures, the Iran's Product Nigeria Limited, and the Georgia's Metal Limited. They have driven out of the country due to the current economic situations in our country, which is still a very major concern and issue. How do you see the taxation reforms moved by this government and comparing to the business that are existing in the country?
We keep saying the same thing. Increase the tax is not an economic development. You keep increasing tax for what you are not generating. The economy is not productive. and you keep increasing tax on the little available. The little availability, and these same firms that are leaving have said it, they have calculated their profits and losses. They have discovered that they cannot make it. And yet, the government keep emphasizing and strengthening measures to increase more taxes and VAT. And that is not the way to go. We expect the economic team of Mr. President. This is more than a year. This is more than 16 months for the president being in the office. And what is required? We don't need to take excuse for Mr. President. If he was to be in advanced nation, we would have been calling for him stepping aside today. We want a productive economy. We want a progressive Nigeria. So, this is not the Nigeria of anybody's dream.
Taxation might be a problem because there are those that will argue that in other climes, government taxes, the population to drive.
In other times, the government provide a conducive atmosphere for business to stride. The government make sure that there is security in other clients, and here we have a lot of insecurity, and the environment is not friendly, and in the other clients we have a lot of infrastructural development, and we don't have them here. Why should we keep comparing ours and theirs? They have more steps ahead of us. If we can achieve those technological development, infrastructural development, then we can be thinking of increment in taxes and VAT. This is a developing economy. This is a president that came to power with high hopes from Nigerians that he's going to get it right, because of we were made to understand his school in US, and with our understanding he has seen the way US are getting things done. This is a president who has come to office for the past how many months. NNPC will wake up, they will talk to Nigerians that Port Harcourt refineries will work December. We are in November now. From December it will work April to August. August we are in November now. And now we are not asking ourselves, if Dangote can build a refinery for just less than 6 years, and the refinery is working today, and we have 4 refineries for the past 50 years, we have been turning around maintenance, and none is functioning. And and we even have a minister.
They are saying who is the minister of petroleum, because the presidencies have been silenced over that. We
have a minister of petroleum. Is the minister of petroleum.
It also states the minister of petroleum.
Is the minister of petroleum. The Nigerian Senate did not screen any other candidate or appointee.
Does it look that because former President Buhari was the minister of petroleum? Is that the case?
Former President Buhari as a president 2015 to 2023 was not minister of petroleum, because of the Senate never screened him, and the minister of Federal Republic of Nigeria is a law. For you to be a minister, you must be nominated and you must be screened before the Nigerian Senate.
But he had a high and close supervisory in that ministry, that those that feel if president is aware, if he's supervising closely that office,
no, the president is supervising the whole ministries in Nigeria.
But
is the chief supervisor.
What should give him more interest is the issue of the petroleum sector, because it looks that is a driving force of economy.
Yeah, that is the driving force of Nigeria economy. And we have a minister,
and the silence of him
petroleum.
And the silence of the presidency have been taken otherwise, because if you see what Dangote is currently explaining to Nigerians with the issues of IBAN distribution, it looks that even the refineries that we were clamoring for, that we needed a local refinery, is not even the answer to the problem. That we are also scared, even if Port Harcourt refinery is up and running today, it might still be the same situation.
Honestly speaking, if the Minister of Petroleum or Mr. President want those things to be fixed, they will be fixed. This is a country where an individual, a private investor, commissioned a refinery. My refineries will be producing PMS. This is how many liters of PMS will be. NNPC started celebrations. And you have 4 refineries for the past how many years? You could not even produce a liter. The whole idea is that is why we keep saying Mr. President should bring in competent hands to manage the economy. Those people he brought in, they are not living up to expectation, and they don't have what it takes to get it fixed. They don't have what it takes to get it fixed. Because if you check all round, the people advising Mr. President, they are giving Mr. President his advice, and the same Mr. President, the way he managed Nigeria economy, this is not the way to go, because of Nigerians are dying. The hardship
is persistent.
Is persistent, and you now ask yourself, you want to save for who? You want to save for who? And if you check the city center before now, you discover that 80% of the workforce are coming outside from the city center. And most of those people today, I'm using Abuja as example, most of those people today, they can no longer come to work. Some of them are even quitting their jobs. And if it continues like this, only God knows what will be the fate of Nigeria by March or April, May 2025.
We are praying for the better days, but let me quickly ask you this before we wrap up. Ndume said to President, sack more ministers. It looks that what you relieve is it's just a scratch on the surface. It looks
yes,
like all of us will not work.
The people need to go. The ministers, Mr. President need to sack. He did sack them.
So some people were spared. Probably.
Yes, some people.
They were said
that
on the basis of their calculation, there was a yardstick that would measure some of their performance. Do you feel
we expected Addis Abala Usman to present those performance and let us know the yardstick he used in measuring there and arriving at that result of the performance, because we on our own from the public perspective, we know numerous of them that they have performed, that they have underperformed, while we know those that have performed. So majority of them, they are not doing well, and this is not the way to go, and there is no need of Mr. President retaining them. If he wants to reshuffle cabinet, let Mr. President reshuffle cabinet. Those 6,
no one should be spared.
Those new ministers he just brought in, they are not going anywhere. Those sectors are not Nigeria's challenges. Those sectors are not Nigeria's problem. Where the problems lies is the economic sector and the energy sector. If I were to be in the energy sector, I would have made a research. How is Europe economy? How is maybe UK, Germany, or Spain, France? How is their economy? What are the indices?
The presidency, because you just said if we were to be, the presidency just responded to Atiku today that is more said than done. That if when Atiku was the vice president of this country, he never did all of that. He is now suggesting to Nigeria that there is no point for him to make all these suggestions. It looks that when one have the power and the access, there are things that may not make your ideas to strive.
I disagree with that. Totally, because of this president were made to understand, and this president made us to understand that he has long prepared for this job. And the very first day he said, I will hit the ground running. And the president might be doing his best, but all those ministers are not doing their best. And because of that, we are not seeing, and because of the ministers are not doing their best, we are now seeing the president as who is not doing his best. And is even putting our party to a very huge test. Because of, come to think of it, our party is one of the greatest thing that happened to Nigeria.
PDP are telling Nigerians that their life was better during their time compared to the 8 years and now 2 years of APC. But we'll talk that on another day.
APC is a party anytime, any day.
Well, I mean, that's a convention. That's a convention for another day because of time. Mr. Daniel Momoh is a convener of Guardians of Democracy and Development Initiative. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. But in all of this concern, it looks that there's a need for all of these, the crowd cry of Nigerians to bother government, because the primary responsibility of government and governors is to guarantee the security of lives and property, but not also to promote and ensure that the welfare and well-being of all Nigerians, as enshrined in the nations in the 1990 Constitution, that those in the office should be aware of the level of patience and understanding Nigerians exercise so far. And with this regards to the series of reform that the presidency is currently undertaking in the effort to reposition the country to the path of sustainable progress and growth, there's a need to fast-track all of that so as to get dividends of democracy back to the Nigerian people, which is the essence of governance. That's the size of our talk, a big conversation on a big talk tonight. I'm looking forward again, see you tomorrow to see how other development and to continue to track some of the political stories in Ondo State. A few days to go and counting down to the elections. We'll continue to track some of the development coming from Ondo and knowing how the APC and the PDP are struggling out there in the state. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. See you again tomorrow.